Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. Well, I apologize for not having a video yesterday. A little busy the night prior. And, of course, everybody has a season for things, and there's up times and down times. And yesterday was just one of those times. But today is a new day. This is from HindustanTimes.com. This is about the solar eclipse. Now, I haven't spoken much about the lunar eclipse, the blood moon that's coming in July. But let's take a look at this particular article here. Coming up, solar eclipse today, longest lunar eclipse in the century, and date with Mars later this month. So a few significant celestial events, and I think in the last days we're going to see more and more of these in the build-up. The Bible says the sun, moon, and stars are given for signs, and they will be used for signs and seasons, moedim, which means appointed times. And so God puts them there, like I say, to point us, to be signposts, and to be bookends, to bookend specific events, or to cap off, or to signal significant events. Well, people are in for a triple celestial treat this month, with a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse set to happen, and Mars expected to come the closest to Earth than it has in nearly 2 decades. There you have an image of, well, a lunar eclipse anyways there. No, this is a solar eclipse, sorry, from August 2017. That's what that's showing. A solar eclipse takes place when the moon traverses between the Earth and the sun, blocking it from view partially or fully. The solar eclipse occurring on Friday is a partial eclipse that will be visible over open waters from the southern parts of Australia and New Zealand. Friday's solar eclipse is partial and not visible in India. This is the Hindustan Times. That's why they're speaking of India here. The cloudy monsoon skies could play spoil sport, but Tawar pointed out that eclipses are long, leisurely affairs. And of course they're talking about the monsoons, and that's been in the news recently because of the I believe it was the 12 boys in the cave that they rescued. They were worried about the monsoon season kind of kicking into high gear and flooding the caves there, and of course that the end of that story was that they rescued them all. The lunar eclipse, it goes on, but since the eclipse is longer than most, there is a good chance of catching a glimpse of people in that area, India, around there. The lunar eclipse takes place when the Earth comes between the sun and the moon. An umbral shadow is an area where the Earth is blocked off all direct sunlight from reaching the moon. When it enters totality phase, the moon is completely inside the Earth's shadow. The total eclipse of the moon, when it is completely under the Earth's shadow, will last 1 hour, 43 minutes for the total eclipse there. This rare celestial event will be visible across Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, and South America. In India, it can be seen on the 27th at 11:54 p.m. local time. Well, it goes on July 31st. Let me go back to that here. On July 31st, Mars, the fourth planet from the Sun, will be 57.6 million kilometers from the Earth, the closest it's been since 2003. When it came within 55.7 million kilometers. Now, Mars is the war planet. I believe that is the one that they suggest that caused issues with, or caused, that God used to cause the long day of Joshua, I believe. And there's a whole study there. I think I did a video on it a while back with the long day of Joshua, where he basically prayed and to win the battle. God extended the day, held the sun in its place for an extended period of time, and I think the red planet Mars was spoken to be a part of that. And of course, it's called a war planet because likely in previous, maybe even pre-flood, Mars was actually a lot closer to the Earth, and because of its mass, would have caused massive earthquakes, etc., or maybe on its close approaches it didn't. And so there's legend and myth about Mars being the war planet because in times past it used to come close and cause all sorts of trouble on the Earth, and people were afraid of it. It's an interesting backstory, which I'll have to take a look at. The red planet will be at its brightest since 2003, when Mars made its closest approach to the Earth in almost 60 years, since September 24th, 57,617 years before Christ. I don't know, is that a real year? Maybe 5,700 years before Christ. Well, not even, because there's only 4,000 years prior to Christ for the creation of man. So I don't know what I don't know how they're measuring that, what time scale, what evidence they are to confirm that it's been exactly 60,000 years, since that time. But anyways, Mars will be visible in the night sky after sunset till sunrise from everywhere in India if the sky remains clear. Since it will be quite close to Earth by that time, it will appear very bright and will be visible roughly after sunset and will remain in the sky until sunrise. You know what? I want to briefly take a look at Mars. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Mars. Let's see. Let me see if I can find detail about Mars, the war planet. And I don't know if I'll be able to find this or not. Let's see. Mars, bringer of wars. See if I can find Wikipedia on this one. Alright, I'll go to the planets by Wikipedia. This is not what I'm looking for. Mars, bringer of war. Alright, let's pull up this article here. This is from Wikipedia. And this is from mythology. Let's see. Unhide. There we go. Mars, mythology. In ancient Roman religion and myth, Mars was the god of war and also an agricultural guardian, a combination characteristic of early Rome. He was second importance only to Jupiter, which is the king planet, and that takes a significant role, I think, in the end times with the planets and telling God's story. And he was the most prominent of the military gods in the religion of the Roman army. Now, these myths, these legends, these come out of true things that were pre-flood. You speak of all the Greek gods and the Roman gods. These are figures that come out of pre-flood truth, actually, and there's a lot of truth to them. And these existed. These were the giants of old, and that's where a lot of these myths and legends came out of. These gods that the Romans and the Greeks had. Mars was a part of the archaic triad along with Jupiter and Quirinus, the latter of whom, as the guardian of the Roman people, had no Greek equivalent. Mars' altar in the Campus Martius, the area of Rome that took its name from him, was supposed to have been dedicated to Numa, a peace-loving, semi-legendary second king of Rome, although the center of Mars worship was originally located outside the sacred boundary of Rome. Augustus made the god a renewed focus of the Roman religion. And I don't know if it has any more background on the actual the myth of Mars being a war god. Doesn't look like it, but it's like I say, it's a whole another study in and of itself. How did it get its war god title, etc.? So interesting background there. I just wanted to show it to you because this is coming up, and this is something as a prophecy watcher, as someone who's watching end time things occurring. You take a look at these, and you take a look at how they affected humans in times past, how they affected the planet in times past, and many would suggest that Mars had a much more significant and a closer relationship with Earth in times past, i.e. it had a much closer orbit, or at minimum it had orbits which ventured much more close to the Earth, which would cause gravitational basically shaking and destruction, and cause earthquakes all over the Earth from the closeness of the planets. As does God have in store something for the last days with Jupiter, the king planet, or with Mars, the war planet, to confirm his coming, or to play a part in the fiery resolution to the earth and the fiery judgments coming. I think God uses his creation. He uses creation in the flood of Noah to judge man. I think he's going to use his creation again in the last days when his wrath comes upon the earth, the seals and the trumpet judgments and the bowl judgments. I think he's going to use his natural creation to meet these and to put these upon humankind and to cleanse the earth with fire. I think he's going to use his planets and his creation to do this, his volcanoes, etc. He created them. He orchestrates them. He holds them together. He holds all of us together. He holds our breath in his hand. And so he's going to use these in the last days to fulfill his purposes. So I think these will play a larger part as we get closer to the return of the Lord. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll leave it there. There's interesting celestial events coming, and we'll look up. We'll always remember that God created the planet, and He is using it for His glory. So we never know what's going to come of these certain things, even though there may not be a direct link attached to these. Usually, what happens is after the fact, once hindsight is 20/20, we can see particular events that are surrounding these celestial events. And will we see it in this case? We'll find out soon enough. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.